I did want to thank you for volunteering to share your thoughts about the topic of being bi and pan. I've heard people say that they're bi and pan, so it's great to meet someone who has that label.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Hasn't always been easy, but you know, I think it's
oh,
accurate
I
for
can
me.
imagine. Is there a lot of confusion with it?
Well, yeah, I mean, even just like when I was younger, I all I heard was bi and never heard pansexual. So for the longest time, bisexual fit me better. Um, I didn't like actually come out to like beginning of college, I think. Um, but yeah, so I was bisexual for a while, and then I'm also gender fluid. So I always had like these thoughts about like, well, like what if I'm trans or something? What if I like somebody that's trans? Then bi doesn't necessarily include that, some people think. But I think that uh, bisexual and pansexual can include trans people. I think that it's all like basically the way that I define my sexuality is if you're human, I could potentially like you. And if I said just that, people would think like, oh, so you like everybody. It's like, no, so if you're human, I could potentially like you, but it doesn't mean I like everybody. It's just the potential is there. So it's all about like the potential, and I think that um bisexuals and pansexuals both just like people. So that's why I identify as both.
So it sounds like it's kind of sort of a way of combining both of the terms.
Yeah, exactly.
This is cool. That's a cool way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Since, like you said, there is a general belief that bi bisexuals don't include attraction to the trans community, and if one feels differently about it, but also identifies as pansexual, it might make sense to combine both the terms.
Right, because like a way that I've heard bisexual is like attraction to two or more genders. So that technically means like male, female, and then like any non-binary gender or even agender is a gender in a way. Like it's like, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, do you feel there's any difference between bi and pan?
I feel like to a lot of people there is, but to me, I feel like they're the same. Like I understand like people's conceptions of like, oh, that bisexual doesn't include trans, but like I said, if it means two or more genders, then that counts as the other genders that are not in the binary. So to me, I think they both mean the same thing. So I'm proud to say that I'm bi and pan at the same time because to me, they're just different ways of saying the same thing.
Okay.
Mhm.
And, are there because I know you mentioned about your gender identity is gender fluid and how it's sort of played a part in your orientation identification. Do you have another example of that, like how your gender identity intertwines with your experiences with your orientation?
Yeah, well, for the longest time, I dated just like cis straight men for a long time. So I always thought like, oh well, I'm just probably like straight, but I mean, I guess like maybe I can like girls, who knows? But when I started figuring out that I might also feel masculine sometimes, I felt like like cis men didn't understand that side of me. I had an ex that was like trying to understand, but they didn't really, like, I felt like they didn't really understand that side of me. And then I dated a lesbian, and she like didn't really understand the male side of me either, because she was also like, cause she liked only women. So when I finally dated another person that was also gender fluid, I realized like I must be like bi or pan. At that time I knew I was like bi or pan, because like if I knew that if I could like everybody for like any gender or multiple genders, then I also, then other people could like me the same way, like it was like I just felt like kind of almost rejected in the past by some of my relationships. Like the genders, like they didn't like actually like my full self for all my genders. So I knew that I could also like someone for their full self and all their genders. Restate it. Okay. So basically, since I felt in the past that in my past relationships, people didn't fully like me for both of my genders, I knew that I could like someone for both of their genders too. Like for a long time, I knew I could date someone trans or non-binary, but I didn't like accept that part for myself. So finally, when I accepted it for myself, I felt like more whole in the relationship. I felt more accepted, and so I felt like if I could like everyone, then someone could like every part of me too.
Yeah,
Not
I
like I
really,
like every single person, but you know what I mean. Like I
yeah, yeah. I really like that idea. Like, sort of almost having your orientation reaffirm your gender identity. Like, if,
right,
like you said, if you can like someone for all of them, then someone can like you back for all of you. And
right.
yeah, that's that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
cool to get that perspective.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, so what are your pronouns?
Well, I've thought about it a lot, and I do like she most of the time, but I also like he. They works for me, but it's not really my preference because I feel like I'm both masculine and feminine. So they kind of makes it like the mix, which is like okay sometimes, but it's not really what I prefer. I prefer he or she. But if someone uses they, it's okay too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know it's kind of odd, but like,
Oh
yeah.
no, no, no. No, it's yeah, I definitely understand. Yeah, I've been through some of the pronouns, just looking to see all that's out there so that I'm not so that I can educate myself on them. So, I've heard they describe that way, that it can encapsulate he and she pronouns. But, then I've heard other pronouns that are used, that also, well, some people feel like they combine he and she into like Zir, or there's another one too that I've heard kind of sort of combines both he and she. But it's good to still talk to people individually and find out what are their definitions of their pronouns and why they use them. So
Right. Like I remember one time I was like at a gay bar and I was like, "Oh, what are your pronouns?" And like this person was like, "No one's ever asked me that before." Like I'm so like honored, almost like they were like proud, like wow, like yeah, like I mean I'm she, but like I've thought about using he before, and I'm like, well, if you want, like why not? Like so
yeah,
it's always good to ask because sometimes people haven't even been asked and they haven't even thought about it.
yeah, and I mean it opens it up for anybody who hasn't thought about it and like, well, maybe they might want to try on different pronouns just to see how they feel and
Right.
learn more about themselves. So I think it's good for everyone.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I could try they. I haven't. I guess it's also like it seems kind of stressful. Like I know I do it for other people. I've used they for other people, but like it just seems kind of stressful to like get everybody to change that. So I don't know.
Um, so I know there's been some sort of debate in the bi community on, like, when we have the general acronym, it's usually LGBT and it's Q, and P isn't even in there. Well, for some acronyms, I mean, for some it includes P and other letters, but the general sort of shorthand one, LGBTQ, there's no P in there. So do you think that pansexual is under the umbrella of bisexual? Like like it's okay to sort of, when the B is listed, it also means pansexual, or should it be its own standalone letter as well?
I haven't really thought about that. I think I mean, because I don't know. Like I said, I think they're the same, but I understand like a lot of people's differences. But I think that the difference comes from people thinking that bi is transphobic when it's not necessarily. So I don't know. I think that it would be nice to have the P there too. But what I like to do with LGBTQ is write LGBTQ plus. So that way it just adds anything else like agender or asexual and then pansexual, and that way like everybody else is included without having to people to like memorize all these letters. Which like it's not a hard thing to do, but like they just keep adding on and on. So that's why I like the plus, because that includes anything else that maybe hasn't been figured out yet or hasn't really been publicized as much, because there are definitely minorities within the LGBTQ community, even though LGBTQ is a minority in itself. So
Yeah.
I think that adding that plus there kind of like helps everybody who might feel excluded in it feel more included. Because I think the LGBTQ, it was like started LGBT like a long time ago now. Like I don't even know when exactly, but they keep adding on. So, because I think I have seen IA also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the I is for, but I think the A is like asexual, right? I don't know what
Yeah.
the I
I,
is.
I believe the I is intersex, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, intersex. Okay, yeah, yeah. See, so I think that's very valid too. So that's why, like, I think almost it's like I think just like as people progress and like we're fighting for more rights for everybody, if we keep adding letters, it's going to be so long. Not that it's a bad thing. So that's why I feel like almost like a plus is better, so that it's like it includes everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, even in bisexual circles, I see bi plus, which, is bi plus identities that are under the bi umbrella,
Right.
which, with pansexuality coming along, there's sort of a debate which, what's under the bisexual umbrella and what's under the pansexual umbrella. Like,
Right.
like, is omnisexual under bisexual, or is it under pansexual? Is polysexual under bisexual, or is it under pansexual?
Right. Like the
Like,
thing.
is
Yeah.
yeah, like, even with queer, I mean, because queer has its own letter, but can queer also be under bi, or can queer also be under pan? Like,
I think it'd be like instead of under, it'd be above, because I think queer is like literally like the umbrella term for any LGBTQ plus thing. You know what I mean? Like I think
hmm
like even it can also stand for questioning too. Some people like count it as that too. So like
Yeah.
queer is like for anybody who just like isn't necessarily straight, you know, or
Yeah.
gender.
Like, where would you think omnisexual would go?
I'm not really familiar. That's like when you like all genders, right? Or is that, or what does that count? I'm not really sure what
I-
omnisexual means.
Yeah,
I know
I
briefly, but I don't really know. I haven't really looked into it.
yeah, well, that one sort of, um, I saw that term sort of pop up around the same time I saw pansexual pop up, which is like in the mid 2000s. So I don't know if people use them interchangeably, but I mean, then again, people use bi and pan interchangeably. So maybe it could be another one of those cases. Yeah, like I'm not sure about the exact definition of omni besides being attracted to all genders, but then again, that's how a lot of people um well, that's how some people sort of define pansexual as someone attracted to all genders. So
Okay. So I don't know. Yeah.
uh, and polysexual is a fairly new one. I've only heard that one within the last like 2 years, which I mean, it kind of sort of feels like it includes two communities, I guess.
Yeah.
The pansexual and polyamory.
Yeah, I'm actually polyamorous myself, actually. Yeah. I've been into polyamorous relationships before.
So
So,
yeah, it's like now there's the actual, okay, you can identify as polysexual. Like,
yeah.
okay.
I just think
Like,
polyamorous. I don't know what I don't know, polysexual, like, is that like a little different or is that the same thing? I'm not sure.
I I'm assuming because it has an actual official term that maybe it's something different than polyamory, where like maybe maybe polyamory is a relationship style and polysexuality is like
Attracted to more like sexually more than one person or something.
maybe
So yeah.
like sort of having your orientation line up with your relationship style, maybe.
Okay. Maybe.
I mean that's how it comes off to me. But
Yeah.
again, like where would that fall under, pansexuality, or would it fall under bisexuality? Because, like you said, if we keep adding on letters for literally every single thing, then it'll be like, it's not that it's bad, but I
Right.
mean, it can become, I mean, especially like how we even pronounce it, like
Right. I mean, it's already hard to like say
Upil, like what?
right.
Like eventually some stuff, would fall under certain umbrellas, and its letter would just represent a whole bunch of identities under that one specific letter. So, like bisexual, it, stands in, for, you can also under that hetero flexible, homo flexible. Yeah, those only two. Those only two I know definitely that's under
Yeah.
bisexual. Because
Like
I hesitate to say
pansexual or
pansexual is under it,
gentle
but
too. I don't know where that would go either.
yeah. But with pansexual now there's omni and polysexual, and it's like okay,
It's like I
like
want to
instead
be
of getting
inclusive, but it's so many letters, like it just like adds up.
yeah. Um, um Yeah. Do you know a lot of other people who identify as bi and pan?
Um, yeah, I mean, my last relationship, um, they were pansexual. Um, and the person I'm talking to now is pansexual too. Um, I also have had friends that are bi and pansexual as well as gay and lesbian too. So I've tried to surround myself with a lot of LGBTQ plus people. So that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I think that some people identify as bi, sometimes they'll identify as pan, but I haven't really met too many that identify as both like me. So
Oh,
yeah.
I was wondering if you had any conversations with them about their definition of why they identify as bi and pan. Like, is it different than yours, or
I don't know. I don't think, not that I can remember that like really in detail, but just like, I mean, I did talk to one friend and she said that she just likes people, like similar to what I said, like just like having the potential there. So um just like she thinks like you can be attracted to anybody, like well they can be attracted to anybody, not that everyone, I mean everyone has their own preferences, but you know what I mean, like she feels that she can be attracted to anybody, but gender isn't a reason to like somebody. I think that part of it for me is that like the reason I don't include gender in my definition is because gender I think is a part of who someone is, but it's not like the only reason I like somebody, just the same as like I don't like them necessarily because of job occupation or their race or any other thing that is like a part of who they are, but it's not like everything, Like I embrace that side of them, but it's not the reason that I like someone.
hmm, that's cool.
Yeah.
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 Um, that I say those were the only official questions I had for you on the topic. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask in particular, or another topic that you wanted to talk about?
I was just curious about what your orientation is and how you identify.
Um, I identify as well, it's a long one, like biromantic, a biromantic demisexual, because I'm a part of the asexual community, a demisexual, and I find that I can have romantic attraction to let's say I've only found myself romantically attracted to cis men and cis women, so that's the reason that I say biromantic instead of say panromantic. And
Okay.
let's say if I because I feel like I don't know if I would be comfortable embracing panromantic if I've never found myself attracted to those that are outside of the gender binary.
Right. Mm.
And it's like I don't want to appropriate a term that, doesn't really include me.
Right.
So yeah, since I find myself attracted to gender binary, I just sort of stick with pan, but I mean stick with bi, I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
I don't believe that bi only means being attracted to gender binary. It's just I find myself that way, but I don't think that that's all that bi means. Just because I'm that way doesn't mean that all bi people are that way. So,
Right. Do you think if you found a person that happened to be out of the binary that you liked, um, would you like give it a chance, like, or is it just because you haven't necessarily had that experience?
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. I would give it a chance. I wouldn't just be like, "Oh, you're not cis." So
Right.
no. Oh, no. Nothing, nothing toxic like that. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, it happens. So, but yeah, that's, that no.
Okay, good.
That's not cool.
Yeah. So just like you're just from your experiences right now, you identify that way, but it could change kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing I like about LGBTQ plus identities is that like everything is kind of fluid and everything can change. That's why I like to identify as gender fluid because the identity kind of like goes in waves, like it kind of like comes and goes, like how I feel throughout the day or like different weeks even, or like it kind of just depends. So that's what I think that like being open-minded about that kind of thing is important because things can change. And it doesn't invalidate anything from the past, it just means, people change and grow all the time in different ways. So it's just a different way to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say when it ebbs and flows for you when you're out of when you're I guess when you're feeling more feminine or feeling more masculine, does your pronouns change then? Like if you're feeling more masculine and someone uses a she her pronoun, is it a problem?
Well, honestly, n- no one's really used he on me, even though I've said like openly and like have it on my Facebook and like tell people openly that I use he. Most people use she, so that's what I'm used to. So that's why I thought maybe I should try using they sometimes, but I don't know. I guess it's like I kind of wish people would use he more often, but since I'm like okay with she, I just kind of let it happen. But sometimes I do wish I was I would had he, so I've thought about like getting like the pronoun pin. I don't know if you've heard of like the pronoun pin, but I thought about
Yeah,
doing that. But like I know it's kind of complicated for people like to be, like keep up with like how I feel because it changes so much. But I think it might be something I should try. So I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not like the end of the world or anything, but it is kind of sucks sometimes when I do feel more masculine, but I'm still trying to express my masculine side more in general. Like I don't really like dress that like so this I like this jacket because it's like kind of gender neutral. It's like kind of both, so that's why I chose to wear it today. I was like I'm kind of like in the middle. So
yeah,
I'm trying to find ways to be more in the middle because a lot of the times I feel like both too. So
okay. Um, let's say, well, did you have any other questions?
Mm, not that I can think of.
Okay. But yeah, I definitely wanted to thank you for taking your time out to chat with me a little bit, and sorry about the time zone
That's
issue.
okay. It's a little confusing.
But are you going to be doing anything in particular for the 24th Pansexual Panromantic Visibility Day?
Well, I've actually been thinking about starting my own YouTube channel. I've done stuff in the past. I've had some videos of interviews for Carla Says, my music radio show. So it's a little different, but I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel with like LGBTQ plus stuff. And also maybe some other like theater stuff too, because I'm a theater kid. So I've been thinking about making a video. So this was kind of like my segue, like kind of like warming up to like being on camera and like trying that out. So yeah, if I actually do finally do a video, I'll let you know. I'll send it to you. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that might be a good way to like start it. Maybe make a video about that. That might be like a good first video.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.